Next up is Dennis Johnson, Director of Public Works for the Town of Vienna. He's here with us today to talk about projects going on in Vienna. Thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing about the many projects. I was on your website recently looking at the different public works projects that you have, and there are an abundance of them.
Yes, we have a lot of projects that are in design or getting ready to be built.
Okay. What types of projects do you have coming up?
We've got a series of projects that are adding new sidewalks or other things to help pedestrians get around town, and that's part of the Town Council's initiative to improve the options for pedestrians and for other citizens in the town. So you can walk, you can ride your bike, you can maybe take mass transit or drive your car. So with many options, it just makes the community more livable.
You know, one of the benefits that Vienna has is the Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority's WNOD trail that goes right through the town of Vienna. So you're leveraging that basically so that people in Vienna have bike and walking options.
Yes, we're making more connections to the WNOD trail, but we're also doing sidewalks in neighborhoods so you can walk, say, to the store, or you can walk to the Vienna Metro rail station if you'd like. So it just improves your options to get around.
Now these sidewalk projects that you have coming up, are they refurbishing projects or are you putting in some brand new sidewalks as well?
Well, we've got a program to do maintenance when needed on sidewalks. But what I'm talking about are new sidewalks where there's none existing.
Okay. Give us an example of some of the areas where there will be some new sidewalks coming.
Well, there's a project called Walk to School that the Cunningham Park Elementary School PTA developed. We got a grant to do the work, and on Lullaby and Harmony there'll be sidewalks hopefully built maybe late this year.
Oh, that's excellent. So school children at Cunningham Park can walk to school.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Any other examples?
In Southwest Vienna, we've got a grant to improve the sidewalks to allow you to walk to the Vienna Metro rail station. Okay. And we're really proud of that grant. The Town Council authorized us to put in for it, and it's regionally significant because the Metro rail station, of course, serves the whole region. So this would allow Vienna residents to walk over to the train station if they'd like without having to walk in the street. So we're adding a lot of sidewalks there. Those will probably not be built until next summer.
Okay, okay. Now, how about bike traffic? How is Public Works helping with bike traffic? Are there going to be bike lanes, or will bikers be on the sidewalk?
Of course, bicycles, particularly those who are used to riding in traffic, should ride in the street and be considered a vehicle. Mm-hmm. And we've marked a bike route, not a lane, because a lane means that you mark it off and only bikes can go in it. But we marked a route so a bicyclist can follow the signs and ride down Courthouse Road in Southwest Vienna. We're going to do more of that. We have a bicycle advisory committee. There's lots of community input on all these projects, and the advisory committee is preparing to come to council to ask for a lot of routes to be marked in town so that you can find your way around as you ride in the street.
That's great. So tell us about some of the other projects that will be happening in the town of Vienna in the next several months.
We've got a few rebuild projects. Cottage Street, for instance, a section of that, section of Maple Avenue will be doing some rebuilds. And that is not to change much, it's to rebuild what's there. But it'll be, because it's a street, both are street projects, there'll be a lot of disruption. So unfortunately, that'll mean traffic detours, but once it's over, it'll be much improved.
Sure. Sometimes you have to go through the agony to get to, the good stuff. So
there's one environmental project I could mention, which is in Wildwood Park. Mm-hmm. This is the Wolf Trap Creek, which it's a creek that's in its natural condition would not be real deep or wide, but there's been so much development upstream that it's sort of washed out, and a lot of silt comes down and causes problems behind some homes near Eckel Street. Well, we're actually, through Fairfax County, we're doing a stream restoration, and they did a project like that in Reston 2 years ago, where they actually fill in what was washed away and they use natural element like root balls and flumes and natural rock to slow the water down, reduce erosion, and improve the situation.
Oh, that's excellent. When will that project take place?
They're getting ready to issue the bid momentarily.
And will there be a need for volunteers at all?
Oh no,
with that
this will be a commercial outfit that comes in. It's expensive. They'll be using heavy equipment.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing is when it's all finished, you look at it and you wouldn't even know that it used to be an eroded stream.
Wow, that's great. That's great. You talked earlier about public process and public input. How does that happen in the town of Vienna?
Well, if you take a typical sidewalk project where we have a committee, a sidewalk task force that recommended a citizen task force that recommended a bunch of projects, and when one of the projects then comes up to be funded and built, we send a letter to all the surrounding property owners. We also post with a notice board that goes out like a real estate sign on each end of the project, and we encourage the public to come forward. And we then have a public meeting in front of town council where they take all the testimony and then decide whether we should actually go forward with the project or not. Then if they say, yes, please start, we would then do a survey and we do a conceptual design and then stop and have a citizen meeting on site. Often we walk up and down the street or we meet in someone's living room with all the neighbors, and we talk about how the walk fits their properties, and we talk about the trees that will go back, because we always plant street trees when we build sidewalk.
Okay.
And then if that goes well, we then would ask voluntarily for each property owner to let us have an easement to do the work, and then we have another public meeting in front of council to award the contract.
Okay.
So we have lots of input.
Quite a lot of input. So aside from the sidewalk committee, what other committees does the town have?
Well, there's many, but the ones related to public works, we have a pedestrian advisory committee that advises, and then there's a bicycle advisory committee that advises on those matters. Then there's a traffic safety committee, which is overall traffic, pedestrians, and their interface.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to get involved with any of those committees, what would they need to do?
Most of those are appointed by the town council. Members are appointed by council, so they should probably send the mayor or give the mayor a call, send the mayor an email or give her a call, and say you're interested, and they do an interview and would appoint you.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the other road projects, because traffic in this area is always an issue. You mentioned that some of the projects are going to involve closures and lane closures, things like that. How are you going to notify the public in advance of those sorts of projects and the traffic ramifications?
We have it on our website. Each project is listed on our website, so there is some notice that way. Okay. We then, of course, have the public meetings where we discuss things, but some of the projects actually require a detour where you cannot drive down the street, have to drive down an adjoining street. So that we then have to send out a notice to the surrounding community telling what's going on. The project on Cottage Street I talked about is one of those where this is a rebuild where they actually not only take the asphalt out and the gravel beneath it, but then they go down a whole nother foot and put concrete in with the dirt to stabilize the subgrade, and then they build it all back up. As you can imagine, this doesn't happen overnight, and it's weeks. So we have to detour traffic on an adjoining street. And there's also problems with folks who live along the street, their access going back and forth to the grocery store and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's tough to coordinate, but like I said before, when it's all over, the street's much improved.
Yes, yes. What's the timing on some of these projects?
That one is also one that'll be built this summer, and they'll probably issue the contract in July.
Okay, okay. So residents in the Vienna area will notice some projects happening beginning this summer. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Tell us about, I read on your website about the Vienna train and the regional park, that you're going to be doing some safety and preservation work there. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
We were lucky enough, town council authorized us to apply for a grant the train station, which is historic 1800s era, rainwater goes under the foundation. And so what we are trying to do is to prevent that. So we're going to put in curb and gutter and drainage improvements. And it's also right at the corner that's heavily trafficked. And as you mentioned before, bicyclists need to get to the bike trail.
Yes.
So we're going to put in a wider sidewalk and a better bike crossing. So it's hitting several birds with one stone.
Yes, yes. And what about the train? What's happening with the train?
The caboose?
The caboose, I'm sorry, yes. the
That's being
caboose.
repainted. That's why if you go by, you'll notice they sanded off a lot of the paint. It looks spotted right now.
So that's a landmark in Vienna that we all know and love so much. So we see anything happening to that, we're all very curious about it. When will that painting be completed?
They're working on it right now, so I'm hoping they'll get the primer on and the finish coat and then put the lettering back on here in a few weeks.
Okay, okay. Now you mentioned that there are grants that you receive for a number of these projects. Is that how most of the funding, how you have most of the funding for these projects?
It's a combination of things. We apply for every grant we possibly can, but also there's a capital program which is paid for out of the town's meals tax. It's not paid for out of the real estate tax. And so we have a capital program funding projects that way or through grants. And some actually are a mix of monies.
Okay. Now, Dennis, I saw on your website, it looks like a lot of projects. Is this normal for this time of the year? Or do you happen to have a lot more projects that are going on, or is it just that I happen to look at the website and never noticed it before?
I think it's a combination of things, but part of it is the website itself. We're trying, again, for public outreach to be more transparent and post any project that's coming up on the website so people can take a look and if they're interested, ask questions. And before we didn't really do that. We were just getting into websites, and we've just upgraded our website, and so hopefully we'll see more of that in the future.
So if people want to come and see your new updated website, what's the address?
What's the address? I'm not sure. www.viennava.gov.
Okay.
The other thing we're doing is we're trying to, in association with that, is to have a maintenance system in the website. So if you do run across, say, a root pushing up a tree root pushing up a block of sidewalk, you can log it in and then register yourself, so you'll get a notice that it's been repaired or we can't fix it or whatever the response is, so you won't just turn in a complaint and then never hear again.
I see. Okay.
And I think that'll be great because we can then track things more closely.
Right. Okay. Well, great. Dennis, thank you so much. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you and to the Department of Public Works for all the great things that you do to make Vienna a safe and beautiful place to live and work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today for Vienna Tysons TV. We'll see you next month.